Well, welcome back. We're going to try this again. The other day, we attempted to record and post a training that I did to help you fellow agents so that you can get your sellers to a place where they're going to price their homes to sell using a CMA tool or a comparative market analysis tool to get your sellers to that place so you can have success when you're listing homes in today's market. And it was pulled off of YouTube because of some community guideline violations. So I did some digging, and what we did wrong there is I had some private information and addresses. And so just a disclaimer, this video will have no real information, and therefore I apologize in advance. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. I'm just going to walk you through the fields that you're going to need to fill out. You're going to put real addresses, real information in there, and then you're going to create a real report. So today, anything that would have private information on it, just to illustrate how to do this, I've taken some screenshots and just blacked out and redacted out the private information. So anyway, so hopefully that gets us to where we need to be. All right, so you got to price your homes right or they won't sell. If you price them right, any home will sell at the right price. So that's what we're going to work on today. And as the market shifts, whether it's a seller's market, buyer's market, as it shifts back and forth, right now here currently in our real estate market, we're in a heavily biased buyer's market. It's leaning and favoring the buyers, whereas 2 months ago, the sellers were getting top dollar and the buyer was pretty much just getting abused. So as we go through this today, there's going to be a couple tools you're going to need. The first tool is you're going to need MLS access. So access to your local MLS. And then as you go through the MLS, you're basically going to enter in searches and criteria, and then we're going to export all that data that's pulled from the MLS search and put that into program called Cloud CMA. Our MLS is automatically linked to that program, so just be advised that those are the two tools you'll need to have access to complete this. So let's dig right into the first tool, and or the first approach. There's really three approaches you can use to comp out homes. One is going to be a radius approach around the house. So let me go into that real quick and show you what I mean by that. So what you're going to do is you're going to get into your search page as if you were searching for homes to show or look at, and you're going to put in here the status. You're going to want to change that to three types. I'd like to have you pull active homes, under contract homes, and sold. There's this new category called backup. You may want to also check that because sometimes agents, when they feel the deal isn't going to be certain or it may fall out of contract, they'll use the backup status just as a hedge in case that first deal falls out. People are still showing it. So you may also want to include backup in that. Then you're going to go in and do your number of days back. I would go about 60 in today's market. What you'll do there is you're basically changing and massaging this criteria that you're putting in so that you get about 10 hits. I don't want you to have 22 comparables to show people, 10 or less, and no less than 3. You've got to have at least 3. So the easiest way to get those, if you're not seeing it, is either expand the distance or the radius around your home or expand the time. So for this purpose, we're just going to go 60 days back. Now, what I'm going to do is, with this radius approach, we're literally, just like the name suggests, we're going in a radius or a half mile, quarter mile, full mile radius around the property to see homes that have sold, that are active, and that are under contract, sale pending, just around the house. So remember, location. That's all that. That's the key factor to real estate. So what I'd like you to do is put this criteria in here: active, under contract, sold, backup, and a number of days back to 60. And then I'd like you to go over here to view map. This little tool is great. Once you click on that tool, go up here to radius tool. And then this little blue bubble over here to the right will actually open up a field form for you to enter in the actual address, which we won't do on this video, and then the radius diameter. So right here, we're looking at, a quarter mile around the home. If I'm not getting enough hits, I'll go a half mile and then all the way out to a full. Secondly, once that's done and gets input, you can actually go in and change it and use the polygon tool. The way a polygon tool works is you would go in here and just, map out a triangle or whatever, and there you go. Now it'll just show you homes that are all down in that yellow triangle. All right, so once that's done, you're going to go to view results, And again, we're not putting any real data in here. So with that being said, we're going to put in our results, and then we will massage that so that it gets at least 10 homes, like I mentioned. And we're going to take those 10 homes and then export them into Cloud CMA. The way you do that is you just go to View. I'll kind of show you where that is here. Once you're in there, you're going to go View Results. And then I can't show you that screen because it'll pop up real data. But basically at that point, you're going to just put it into a Cloud CMA. You're going to import it into Cloud CMA. It's just one of the drop downs in the menu there. Again, I apologize. I can't get into detail on it. So secondly, the radius search before I close out of that approach on how to comp this out is that's going to be the best way for you to see what's happening right down the street, just quick and dirty. Around the neighborhood, good, bad, and ugly. Sometimes there's a nice neighborhood next to a lower price neighborhood, and the values don't match. It's okay. This radius tool will allow you to pull those up. And then before you show this to your client in Cloud CMA, the export tool, you'll be able to actually cherry pick and pull out various homes that maybe just aren't even a match, right? So if you've got 2,000 square foot homes right next to a neighborhood that's 5,000 square foot homes, you can pull out those 2,000s because they're really not relevant to this seller's decision on where to price their home. All right, next, let's go to the next approach. This is going to be the comparable approach. Comparable approach is now we're ditching the radius. We're just now saying, hey, within a certain fence or geographical area, I'll get into that. I usually use the zip code. We're going to use the home specs or features. This is where I'm going to use the same criteria up here: active, under contract, sold, and backup. Same thing, 60 days. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put in like property type, single family home. You're going to probably put something in there like if it's a 2-story, you're going to want to only pull up 2-story homes. Let me break off on a little tangent here. I have been to so many classes and courses that to try to get into the head of these appraisers to figure out how they're thinking and what mindset they're using to get these home values. I'm mostly curious as to why they used the 3 to 6 comparables that they did. And what I've found is there's some basic guidelines. There's distance around it's about a mile. That they won't go out further than that unless they have to. Time, they'll go out about 120 days to 180 days. They'll go back quite a ways. But this one, they will not deviate on, like for like. So if you have a Rambler or ranch style that's single story, and the homes that you're comparing it to are 2 stories, an appraiser would never use a 2-story compared up against a single story. They just won't. And then there's the murky area of how they measure and value finished basement square footage. Here in our local market, we have basements. So anyway, with that being said, I've been to a lot of these classes, and I'm trying to get you guys to be able to comp out and use market reports that are really going to be similar to what an appraiser is going to come back with, because you've got to sell the home twice. We've got to sell it once to the consumer, the buyer, and then we have to sell it again to the appraiser. So let's just, cut to the chase and get right to what an appraiser would say the home's value is. So by doing that, I'm always going to want to pick the same type of style, which in this case would be 2-story, and that will eliminate any single stories, townhomes. If this is a single family home we're trying to comp out, it'll eliminate all that. And then another couple bits of criteria, I'll probably go square footage. If the home that we're comping out is 3,000 square feet, I'll probably go 2,800 to 3,800 square feet and try to kind of bookend that. And then I may put something in like garage count, 3-car versus 2, and that's it. I don't want to get into bedrooms. I don't want to get into all that kind of stuff. Footage, maybe something that's a real, distinct standout feature like a 3-car garage versus a 2-car, and that's it. Because if you get too specific, you won't pull up enough comps. Once we have that, we're not going to use the map view anymore. We're just going to hit view results, and at that point, you're going to take those results and import them into Cloud CMA. That's the comparable approach. We're going to actually use specs. And remember, I said the geographical fence on this is going to be the zip code. So I will just go in there and just put the zip code in right here. You can put your local zip code in. And at that point, you can, at least fence this into some kind of boundary so you're not getting every home in the county or in the state for that matter. All right. So that's the comparable approach. And there's another approach that I only use in specific scenarios. If I'm in a development that is very well known, that people just have to live there. I'll put the name of the development in. Some of those are single family home developments, gated communities, master planned communities. We in our market here, we only have maybe a handful. I can count on one hand the 3 or 4 that we have. But in the townhome condo product, that's always going to be a factor. So if you're listing or comping out a condo or a townhome, I suggest always run all 3 of these, but always consider this third one maybe as your first choice. Because if you choose, let's say Willow Springs, which is a fake, community. Let's say if you choose Willow Springs and there's condos in there that have now sold, they're pretty much like cookie cutters of what you're trying to sell. So it will get you a very like for like, very comparable, and that answer to what's this home's value. That'll be what an appraiser uses first. Is they'll use that subdivision, that neighborhood, that community complex first before they branch out into something else. And the way we do that is we just use the same criteria. I'll clear out some of this, clear this out. And then once that's cleared, you'll just go in here and the only thing I want you to put in here is the subdivision name. So if that were, for example, Willow Springs, you would type in Willow Springs in there, which is a fake subdivision. And that is what you're going to do. You're going to go maybe condos. You're going to go up to style. You're going to type in Willow Springs, and you're going to go up here and put in your style is, instead of single family home, it's going to be condos. Okay, and remove that single family criteria. Again, 60 days back, I think, is the most accurate window snapshot right now in 2022 real estate market, because anything longer than 2 months ago is like ancient history. All right, so that puts us into the subdivision approach. And like I said, you're just going to want to put in zip code, 60 days back, and what style it is. And then that will get you the subdivision comparables, and you can go from there. Now, finally, once you've got all 3 of these approaches, you're going to find some overlap. You're going to find homes that show up every single one of these searches, every single one of these approaches. You're going to actually find that there's some homes that keep showing up. Whatever you do, you can actually take individual MLSs and throw them into Cloud CMA, or you can just take one of these searches, check the ones you want, and then hit import into Cloud CMA. I'm going to now take you to a screen so that you can see what that looks like. Now, when you actually get into Cloud CMA, once this actively imports, it'll ask you a couple questions. Which homes do you want to use? Again, I can't pull this up without showing real data. It'll ask you which homes you want to use as comparables. You can uncheck and check box the ones that you want to keep. Then it's going to ask you, do you want to submit information like the actual price? I usually say no to that. I give, home sellers a window of, hey, here's your low price, here's your high price. You pick one in the middle or wherever you want to be, and that's where we'll list it. It's your choice, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller. And then finally, when you look at the report that you're going to give these guys, it's going to generate either a live or a PDF report. And I'm going to switch over to a screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, so right here is just a screenshot of what you'll see once your CMA is imported up into Cloud CMA. And you'll notice here, the view live, I've circled it. That's the one I like because it gets us a report that looks very similar to this. This is what it'll look like. This is viewable on a phone, on a tablet. I mean, it's so simple and it's very, you just click around on it and you can see all the information you want. This will also throw in whatever you want it to have. If you choose to have your agent resume in there, something about your company, whatever. But the meat and potatoes of this is in the comparable tab. And that's what I've got a snapshot of right here. So the subject properties on the left, and to the right, you've got some homes. Again, no private information is shown, but you've got some homes on here that actually are comparable to this one. And you'll see things like the original price, the list price, what it actually sold for, if it's closed. The most important thing on this, guys, is to be able to show them photos. So in the live app, I can click on one of those homes and it will just bring up every color photo that's posted out onto the advertisement and listing of that property. That's important because the dialogue with the seller is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you've now seen this home. Is this better or worse than the one you're trying to sell? And based on that answer, you can price accordingly, right? If this one's 609, it expired, it didn't sell, that guy failed on the market, it's probably too high. The next one over here did close. It was 568. I can see down here that it sold for 568 after being listed at 590. The original price was 675, so you can see that they've had to drop it. But the point is that this is so has such an impact on sellers, because it's just like, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you're picking the price. I'm just here for some moral support and to give you the data so you can make a good decision. So that's how I use this cloud CMA to actually help sellers arrive to a place where they've got their home price to sell competitively. So that's the basics of it. Let me recap. You're basically going to use the MLS, Cloud CMA. You're going to actually get into the MLS, type in one of three search approaches: the radius approach, which is just around the property; the comparable approach, which is putting in actual specs and then opening up the geographic fence to the whole zip code; and then the third approach is the subdivision or neighborhood approach, where you're actually going to type in the name of the subdivision, and that's it. And then you're just basically going to go pull up the product. That's very accurate if you can do it. I wish we could do that with every comparable. That's just, most neighborhoods, nobody knows the name of the neighborhood they're in most places in our market. And then finally, one other point I wanted to give you: if you have the old MLS number of a home that's been listed prior, that's a great way to use the comparative approach. You can actually put in all the specs of the home by going back to, I'll take you back there real quick. So what you can do is you can go up here to CMA, create new, and then you'll actually be able to just populate from and put the MLS number in there if you look at that. So this is more on, on a comparative scale, but you can just put in the MLS in any CMA, search window right there. And then once you put that real MLS number in there, it'll populate this with similar, square footage, style, all those parameters that I showed you in the comparative approach. So that's just to let you see exactly, what that's not really a fourth approach, but it's a little shortcut or a little hack so that you can actually not have to go in and type in all the specs and features of the home. The thing that I have to caution on it, if you are trying to comp from that, it's very, very specific. So sometimes it'll just pigeonhole you down into, one comp will pop up, or sometimes it'll just be the only comp has been that home. So you may need to delete some of those parameters out of there. And that's really it. So those three approaches with one hack of putting the MLS number in from an old MLS that fits the exact home. And that's it. So hopefully that's helped you guys. I'll be back next time, and get out there, list those homes properly so they'll sell, and good luck in today's market. Thanks again. Ask Andrew, over and out.